Well, thanks everybody for coming. I'll just open it up with a few comments and thoughts, but I believe our team took a good step forward this season. I've said it before, but it's just the first step. Earned the right to play in the Stanley Cup playoffs, a necessary step, I think, in our growth. When I talk about improvement, I think it's both on and off the ice. And we can touch on that as we talk today, and just the special feeling of the Stanley Cup playoffs here in Ottawa. And I've said it a number of times that I believe that this is the most underrated hockey market, the National Hockey League. Our fans proved that. That was special. The support, we felt it as coaches and managers, and definitely I think our players, they spoke enough about it as well. So very grateful for our fan support here in Ottawa. In saying that, Travis and I are here to answer any questions that you may have.
All right, who wants to go first?
What do both of you think, like you called it a good first step, what do both of you think, starting with you, Steve, you need to do to make the next step? So
I think, the first thing we said was internal growth for this group, and to a man, they all improved. I mean, to their credit, and to Travis, has the ability to get the best out of these players. So that's one way I think that we can continue to improve as a team. And then, I think the experience also of this season and the way that we played should lend to some confidence for our group moving into next year.
I think as far as improving, we've taken a step. Internally, I thought our players improved not only from over last summer, but the course of the season. I think it's important that we continue to improve, though, that it's not status quo. That as coaches, as an organization, we push our players to, have a growth mindset of getting better. And how you left today isn't going to be acceptable if you just come back the same. I think a lot of our players are in that age group where they still have room to grow as players. And that's going to be very important for us to be a better team next year.
I think you were hired like about a year ago now. If I'd asked you on day one when you were sitting here with Steve, what sort of stamp do you want to put on this team? What would that have been, and what do you feel like you guys achieved?
Yeah, I think a mindset of our group of how we wanted to play, team identity, would have been first and foremost. What kind of team we ultimately want to be as far as winning, and just caring about winning. That's part of it, and being hard to play against. And I think we've taken a step in that direction. I think teams that ultimately win Stanley Cups are hard to play against in their own way. I think we talked about that probably the first day I got the job. And, we've taken a step in that direction, but it's still a step.
Julie?
I think it's fair to say that this team hit a low point in November when they lost 5 in a row before they went on a winning streak in December and ultimately helped propel them in their chase for the playoffs. It's kind of like a two-pronged question, but for Travis, how did this team get out of that slide, and what did you notice from them on how they went about that? And Steve, I'd like to know your thoughts on that as well.
We've talked about it a lot in here. I think there's always a point where everything comes to a head, and that was probably one of those points, if not the point, because I think there's a lot of hope with our group coming into the season. They were playing some pretty good hockey, and it was almost a little bit of panic setting in with our group, and a lot of here we go again. That happens a little bit when you play in a Canadian market because you can't get away from it, and a little bit of a coming to with our group, where we've done a lot of talking about things, but now you've got to really look in the mirror and learn fast and quickly, and I'd like to think that the way we approach things with our group as a process helped us through that time, being able to be very honest with our team, to the point where, talking about if we live in the past, like there was a lot of here we go again, and give our players a lot of credit. They didn't let it slip away from them, and they stuck with it, and dug themselves out.
And Steve, what did you make of how, from afar, how that team dug itself out of that hole and propelled itself for the rest of the year?
I think it speaks to the character of the group, character of the individuals. I believe that the veterans that added to this group have that experience, and it goes far beyond what Travis or I could say to them to help them through it. But there's players there that have gone through it, and the conversations, whether it's in between periods or before games or on the bus, having some calming influence in and around this group to help them grow. But ultimately, it's the character of the group, and they've just sort of they've been coming, and they've been showing signs of it, and we're able to take a good step this year.
Steve, during the trade deadline, you said the number one thing on your board to improve was 5-on-5 scoring. What's number one on your board going into the offseason?
Well, it's a good question. I think that continues to be an area, but I think that's internal as well. And 5-on-5, yeah, I think that I think that there's things, and Travis can touch on it as well. I think that there's going to be some growth in that area. I think with the group we have returning, there's some areas that I'm going to look at, but as we've talked about before, I mean, the market will sort of dictate on if you can add those types of players or improve in that area. And until you find that opportunity, it has to come from within. So, I mean, you can go look back at my first year as general manager and not being able to accomplish anything at a trade deadline for a number of reasons, and then waiting for the opportunity to do it. So the offseason, again, will be another opportunity for me to see if I can add to this group, but nothing specific at this point.
And then just to follow up, Travis, just knowing you guys were third in the league for 5-on-5 scoring, but that you were still able to make the playoffs and make a push, there's positives there, but how do you improve that aspect?
Yeah, that's not the only aspect we're going to look to improve. As coaches, we'll do a deep dive into all parts of our game, and 5-on-5 scoring will be one of them. But we'll look at every part of our game. It's easier said than done just to score 5-on-5, but I do think it's an area that we can improve in. Again, a lot of this is repetitive. I feel like we call it puck luck, call it whatever you want. The puck just didn't go in the net for some of our players when they had looks to score as well.
Back to the second row with Alex.
Just for you, Steve, how much of a priority is it for you to re-sign Cloutier this summer?
Yeah, I don't like, and I won't talk about contract negotiations, but I mean, we love G. We want to have him back, and we touched on it briefly at the exit meetings, and everything's still fresh right now. I think to be honest, like even from talking to Travis, it still stings that we're here, and we had belief in our group, and so everything's really fresh right now. But I will get to speaking to all of our players that are up for contract.
Steve, just to follow up on that, in terms of your UFAs, are there any players that you definitively know won't be back for next season?
No, I mean, it's the process in which we're going to do this is Travis and I will take a little bit of time here, decompress, and then we'll speak more in depth on our team and on individuals, and look at areas where we can improve. And we've had some good performances from a lot of those players.
And just to follow up, right defense, Nick Jensen talked to us the other day. Wouldn't disclose what his injury was or like timetables, second opinions from doctors and whatnot. Given his injury status, the depth on right D right now, is that an area where you have to go into the market and get yourself another right defenseman?
Yeah, first of all, I think, we talked about end of season and coming out with the injury list and speaking specifically to the injured injuries that our players dealt with through the playoffs. I don't believe in doing that. I think it's personal. Our players, if they want to speak to it, they can. Kind of feel like it might be justification on why we didn't get through the series. We don't live in that world. But I can tell you that just about every one of our players was dealing with something. When you play as hard as they did, and the commitment that they've shown, they played through a lot, including Nick. And he's an absolute warrior to be able to continue to perform at a level with what he was dealing with. And it's the character of the individual, Nick in particular, but all of them. So I'm not going to come out with any list and speak specifically to injuries, but he will get reevaluated, and if it is something significant, for sure, that's definitely an area to look at. We have some players coming up, and but that'll be an area to look at for sure.
And just to follow up on that, when he was speaking here, he wouldn't reveal what it was, but he said he was going to get a second opinion from doctors on what the next steps would be. Is he going to need surgery?
We don't know. We don't know. Yeah.
Anyone else? Alex?
I'm just curious, at the deadline, you acquired Fabian Zetterlund, gave up, second round pick. I'm just curious for you, like, is that a guy that you see as a part of the long-term solution or part of the long-term process of this team? I'm just curious moving forward as he is in RFA.
Yes. No, we do. I mean, we think that we think he's a good fit for our group, and like many of our players, we feel like there's room for improvement. I think any player, like coming over from a different system and coming in, and Travis getting a chance to coach, I think you could see the growth from him as the season continued to go along. So we're excited about what like his potential and the upside there.
Steve, just a couple things. Your first round pick this year is number 21. Have you made any decisions regarding keeping it? Your owner kind of says slow play it. I mean, are you going to slow play it and just hold on, or?
Yeah, I know what we're going to do with it. I don't know if I want to reveal it to you guys right now, but no, it's highly likely that we'll keep our pick.
Is it a good draft?
Yeah, well, I mean, we have good scouts. I think they've proven along the way that they can find talent. So every draft year you go into it, and people say the drop-off's at 12, and then there's a group of this or that. But I trust in our group.
Just one other thing. Do you have any players who have committed to the World Championships? Do you have those names?
We do. It's Shane Pinto and Nick Mattenpalo at this point. Yeah.
This is for either one of you. Adam Guedette is one of those players who is going to be unrestricted. Can you talk about his season? And basically, at the end of this, on the Saturday, he said that he would love to come back. Maybe can you speak about his situation?
As far as his season goes, yeah, he's had a great season. Happy for him. It's not just, he got off to the hot start, scored a lot of goals early, but also showed that he can play in a role that, he hasn't maybe played in the past, and be dependable in that role. So he had a good season. I'm happy for Gods. I've known him a while. Anytime a player has a successful season, you have to be happy for him. And as far as the future, that's, from my end, that's something that Steve and I'll talk about and see where it goes.
Two quick ones for me, both for Steve. What were your impressions of Tyler Kleven's this year, and how did his full season affect your view of him in the organization for the future going forward?
Yeah, I thought Tyler, he came on as the season progressed, the second half of the season in particular. And I can let Travis speak to it, but Travis held him accountable early. I didn't think he got off to a great start through training camp right from the beginning, so I think that's an area of improvement for Tyler. But yeah, he was coming on. He's a good young defenseman, and was making more of an impact as the season went on.
Carter Yakimchuk joined the team as a black ace during the playoffs. I'm just curious what next steps could lie for him. I think he turns 20 before the end of the year, so I think he's AHL eligible. Like, what's next for him?
Yeah, that'll be up to him. I think, we spoke to him, at our exit meeting with Carter, and he knows how important this summer is for him. And you get opportunity with the Ottawa Senators on merit. And if he's ready to play and pushes us, we'll be open to that. But certainly he's got, like all of our players, need to take this off season. Like, it's improving the roster, talking about how we can improve. Like, it starts now for our players. And so time will tell, but he's he'll let us know.
And he can play AHL, just to confirm.
Correct.
Next season, right?
Yes.
Thanks.
Back row to Preach. Steve, just given the timing of the sale, this was your first full season in the role. Do you anticipate any changes to your hockey operations going into next year?
Possibly, yeah. I mean, we're always looking to improve. We're looking. We'll always look at areas to improve. And as far as taking that next step for the group on the ice, I think it's for us as a staff as well. I think we've taken a step. I think we can get better. I think there's lots of areas of improvement. And if we don't continue to push for that, we're not doing our job. So there's certainly areas throughout the organization that will continue to be addressed.
Just a question for you, Travis. Second line defense in the postseason, it seemed at times that you're struggling at 5-on-5, just in terms of goals allowed.
Second line what?
The second line, just in terms of goals allowed, like different moments defensively.
Second line being
like Cousins and Matherson, for example. How do you get more out of those guys? Because they're still relatively young. How do you coach more defense on those two players?
Yeah, I mean, you can nitpick about the second line playoffs if it's easy to do. I'm not going to sit here and do that right now. I thought our team performed very well in the playoffs. It's one of those series that you look back and I think at the end of most series, the losing team usually knows that the other team was better a lot of times. And over 7 games, the best team prevails usually. I think this is one of those series, for me personally, in any playoff series that I've coached, that it stings probably more than others, just because it truly felt like it could have gone either way. And as far as Dylan and Drake, 2 really good players. I think Drake took a big step this year in his game. Dylan being a new player that we haven't had long, very exciting as far as his potential, where I see him progressing to, and I think that he's got another level in his game. And again, much like the rest of our players, it starts relatively soon to be better next year. It doesn't start in training camp. Our job as coaches are to make our team better, and being committed in the off season is a huge part of improving at this age for a lot of our players. And I think he's a player that has a lot of room for growth still. But ultimately that comes down to the player, much like when we talked about Clevin. Are they willing to get better? Are they willing to be a committed player in the off season? Do you want to be average? Do you want to be good? Do you want to be great? And in saying that, when I mean great, your max potential. And that's a real inner commitment by a person to be dialed in the off season, leave no stone unturned, and come back the best version you can be. And that's really what we're going to challenge our players to be. Status quo for a lot of them isn't going to be good enough, because they can all improve. Most of them, most of them can improve still.
Just for Steve, Anton Forsberg is a free agent this summer. Levi Merrilainen was really good in Belleville, and he's reached a stint with the Senators this year. How comfortable are you with Merrilainen potentially being the backup next season, and do you plan to add or re-sign Forsberg in the offseason?
Anton Forsberg's a great pro and a great teammate, and we'll look at our goaltending depth. You're right, Levy's come up and played well, but certainly it's when you have a player like Anton, the commitment, and in being in that role as the backup, and one of the hardest working guys on our team, and committed. So we'll take a long look at it and see what the possibilities are.
What do you feel Marilinen is to becoming a full-time NHL?
I think he took a big step this year, really. I mean, he gave us some good games, and I think what impressed us most was the moment wasn't too big for him. For a young goaltender, I think his calm demeanor, I think, helped our group, and it's impressive for a young player to be able to do that.
Just to follow up also on the goaltending, when you signed Linus Ullmark, obviously Vezina caliber goaltender, was he what you expected this season?
Yes. Yeah. I mean, goaltenders, they're not perfect. You go through stretches, but Linus Ullmark at his best is a top goaltender in the league, and he gave us a chance. And even in the playoffs, so you could look at this playoff series and you can talk about the goals, but how they went in. I felt like we were a little unfortunate, but he gives us the presence in that we want, and I think it gives our team confidence, and we expect him to continue to grow as a goaltender as well. I think that he's driven to improve as well.
And then another note on your lines. Throughout the season, there were various right wingers used with Stützle and Tkachuk. Do you think that right winger for that top line exists in this organization? Or are you going out and looking for a good fit for that line right now?
I think we have a lot internally here for that. But we'll look at it for sure. Do we want? Is that an area? Everybody's looking for a top six scorer. And we'll continue to look to see what we have. But I think internally and the work that Travis has done and the group continues to improve, and the individuals are continuing to improve as well with the honest accountability that him and his staff bring to the table every day.
Maybe it's a bit of a follow-on Claire's question. So to that, how high on your list of priorities would you say seeking a scoring option outside of the organization is?
We'll look at all areas. We really will. Again, I think that there's enough room for growth internally that it would have to make total sense.
Someone else reworded and asked the same thing here. Making a hat trick.
Anything else?
We gotta ask.
Yeah, I hear you.
Anything else? Yeah, is that it?
I'll have another one. Travis Hamonic was up here. He's also got a contract up. He's kind of an optional. Where do you see his future being?
These are all the discussions that Travis and I will be having. Travis Green and I will be having about our players. We want to go through the process honestly, and I think we'll have some decisions to make. But we'll get started on that once we get a couple more days to decompress.
For scouting meetings.
They are in 2 weeks. Yeah.
Last season, you added a couple guys like Perron, Amadio, Cousins, and free agency. You have a bit of cap space. I think it's $18 million. How important is free agency as a vehicle for you to acquire talent this offseason?
Again, I hate going back to it, but depending on really what the market is, it's going to have to make sense. It'll be good to have some cap space. That flexibility is important. How we use it, we'll figure that out. I mean, going into the deadline this year with not a lot of cap space made it more challenging, and so. But we'll take a look at the free agents, see how they fit into our group, and if it makes sense, we'll look to do it.
Travis, we talked about your PK and its structure all season long. It feels like, is there any consideration, like at what point in the offseason you review like your special teams and then say, maybe we'll change the structure for next season?
Yeah, we're going to do a deep dive, and like I said earlier, into all parts of our game. Our penalty kill being one of them, our power play as well. I'm looking to improve all parts of our game. Our 5-on-5 scoring, but it's not like we're just going to sit here and not look at the defensive side of our game either. I think penalty killing I think we finished, 18th, 19th. It's an area that we want to improve in. Our power play was 11th or something like that, you know, again, we want to improve it. And we'll do, like, we challenge our coaches to look at everything. We challenge ourselves to be better internally as a staff. And it's not like we just turn the computer off and come back in training camp and start again. We'll take a couple weeks off, do a deep dive into all parts of our game, where we can be better and how we can be better.
And to follow up on the PK, Tyler Clevin, you talked about roles expanding possibly for certain players. Is he a guy who could have a large report or a large role in that PK next week?
Potential, and that, again, that the onus goes on to the player. You know, Tyler Clevin showed, you know, kind of two sides. I didn't think that he put the work in to come in to camp, to have the best camp that he could last year. You hope that he's learned from it. He progressed as the season went on, and now it's up to him to take what he's learned and apply it. So he comes into camp as a better player than he was last year.
And last one, Steve, people have been talking about offer sheets as being a mechanism to get young players off other teams. Obviously, you have RFAs like Clevin. Is that something you're concerned about, or is that something that you could possibly explore yourself?
I'm not concerned. No.
Yeah, big picture, when Michael Anlauer took over this team, he said the number one priority at the beginning was going to be to create stability. In an interview a couple of weeks ago, he says stability has kind of been achieved right now. Based on that achievement, how do you guys set new goals going forward? Like you said, the next step, like at the beginning of the season, make the playoffs. I know it's fresh, but have you already started thinking about what the next step for this organization is going to be?
Well, constant improvement both on and off the ice, you know, honest accountability to where we're at. Taking the step to where we got to was challenging. Our players stepped up to it, coaching staff did. Now is the real hard part, you know. Now to get into contending with these teams, you know, the attention to detail and the work that has to be done. But we've set the culture. I think the one thing we can be proud of is we talked a lot about culture, and it's just you can't fabricate culture. You have to live it, and both on and off the ice. And I think we can be proud of that. I think our fans recognize that it's different. Our players certainly do, and full credit to them.
If we don't have anything else, we'll wrap this up.
Actually, this is a question regarding the Bevel Club. Are there players that you can identify that are knocking on the door that are close to making this roster next season?
Yes, certainly. I think the summer is going to dictate a lot in how they show up at training camp. But there are a few players there that have that are starting to push for an opportunity. And again, we said it a number of times today. The offseason is important for these players, and everything that we do here is on merit. It's open, it's honest, and so if they come in and push for a position, we'll, you know, we want good players on our team, and there's a few guys down there that are pushing.